Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
My name is Jeff.
I am Iron Man.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Wow.
Mr. Feeney? Mr. Feeney!
I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul!
Swallow this.
Hello there.
Loud is not allowed. Now you listen to me, mister. I work for a living. And I mean real work, not writing down gobbledygook.
Say, would you like a chocolate-covered pretzel?
Come on, flip the pickle, Morty. You're not gonna regret it. The payoff is huge.
That's what she said.
Welcome to my world, bitch.
And now, ComiCulture Radio, with your host, Kevin Caldwell.
What is up, my people? My name is Kevin. Welcome to ComiCulture Radio on KSKQ. It's a lovely Saturday afternoon here at Ashland, Oregon, headquarters of KSKQ. We are joined in studio by Ben. Ben, how do you say your last name again?
Fleuter.
Fleuter.
Like loiter, but with an F.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, happy to be here. I can see why you were excited about that intro. That took me back. That was like listening to old anime hell compilations on YouTube right there.
Yeah, I was really stoked, and I'm really glad. Shout out to Josh Halstead, who made that for me last night after like 20 revisions.
Oh,
so
no.
we got it down. So Ben is a local comic artist who has this really awesome series called The Sword Interval. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but how are you doing today? It's a wonderful Saturday afternoon.
I'm doing good. I'm slightly ahead of schedule in comics too, which is rare and feels awesome.
Well, don't spoil the interview on us. We were going to get there.
Oh.
So thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Give us a little bit of your background, where you grew up and what your interests were as a kid.
I grew up here in Ashland, Oregon, and started making webcomics when I, let's see, back in mid-high school, and then went to Portland to major in game design at the Art Institute, which I believe is closed down and dead forever now. Let's see. Yeah, interests were mostly comics and Dungeons and Dragons. That's pretty much the big two. Video games, if I couldn't be doing one of those two things. Yeah, and then graduated from the Art Institute, did a bunch of freelance motion graphic work for Nike and a bunch of just miscellaneous commercials. Phone apps were becoming big at the time, so I was doing a lot of background artwork for like 2D side-scrolling video game stuff too, until I turned comics into a career.
Any commercials that we would know about?
I storyboarded one Nike commercial that saw a lot of circulation. Other than that, I don't think there's anything that, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So you're going to be at Rose City Comic Con in a few weeks. Are you excited for that?
Yeah, I am. Love doing comic conventions. Haven't done Rose City in a couple of years, but it's one of my favorite ones for sure.
Ben was telling me a story about how he shoulder-checked Will Wheaton.
That was at Rose City.
And,
it was an accident.
I'm sure he doesn't hold a grudge, but he might. Who knows?
I just bumped into this guy and just apologized. He said, "Oh, no problem," and moved on. And then some friend of mine just looks wide-eyed, like, "That was Will Wheaton." And my mind is like, "The guy from Geek and Sundry?"
Just Star Trek.
Oh, yeah, that.
No big deal.
Just Star Trek.
So tell me about the genesis of the Sword Interval. What led you creating this web series?
A lot of it kind of starts with I like to design monsters, and I kind of wanted a Monster of the Week style story where I could do shorter stories within a larger narrative and show off different monsters and their weaknesses, and kind of in the vein of Buffy or Supernatural, or as Hellboy as well. Be huge influences for that.
So for those of you who are unaware, and this is ripped straight from Webtoon, I didn't create this wording myself.
I didn't either, probably. You go.
So the Sword Interval is about a world on the verge of a supernatural apocalypse. Most of humanity goes about their daily lives trying to ignore the constant threat of magic and monsters, but a few face these dangers head on. Fall is one such person. She has left behind the sheltered safety of the Paranormal Witness Protection Program in order to hunt down the monster that killed her family. Does that sound about right?
I think I did write that.
Okay.
I think I did write that for them. It's been a few years.
I didn't want them to just totally butcher what the plot is.
Oh, no, that's definitely correct. I get confused sometimes because they'll do advertisements for it now and then, and one of them is, look out, Arizona, I hunt demons for free. And I'm like, it doesn't take place in only Arizona. They're not demons, and she does it for money.
Yeah, I mean, within like one of the very first episodes that I read, it was like the Rogue Valley Coven. I was like, hey, I've heard of the Rogue Valley. I know that place. So that's really cool. Where did your initial idea for the plot come from? Did anything else like inspire you?
Well, it's actually based off the first webcomic I made back in high school. When I got a chance to do this new series, I was a little bit stretched for time, and I had always kind of wanted to go back and revisit characters and ideas from my old high school webcomic, so this was a good opportunity to do it. I didn't have a lot of time to create an entirely new thing from scratch, so yeah, I rebooted that like 10 years after I had started that comic, and that was, again, very much inspired by Hellboy, Supernatural, Buffy, as well as anime like Hellsing.
Yeah. So you're about to hit, what, 200 episodes?
Yeah, which is about 600 pages.
Yeah. Is it crazy to fathom that you've come this far since starting it 4.5 years ago?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to be able to be doing this full time and reaching a much larger audience than I used to, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I think probably total comic pages I've made in my life is probably, I think I was just talking about this with my wife, maybe 2,000 at this point, but yeah, a good portion of that sword interval at this point too.
Yeah. So, do you know how you plan to end the series? Is there a definitive way on how you plan on getting there?
I know the ending, and only recently did I find out how to get there. If you want a peek behind the curtain on the way I write, and apparently I hear other people write this way, so I feel less alone, is I try and write in a way where I have a vague framework, and then I'll sometimes put out plot threads where I know that if we never see the end of that plot thread, it'll just feel like this is a bigger world. But otherwise I have all these threads I can draw from, for like, oh no, how do I wrap this up? How do I get this character out of this scene? Oh, this thing that I said 300 pages ago, I can bring it in over here, and that solves that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so do you ever write yourself into a corner where, like, how do you get out of this situation that I've put these characters in?
Pretty rarely. When I do, I'll usually try and bounce some ideas off of some friends in the industry or off of my wife Aurora, and we'll usually figure something out within a day or so of brainstorming and get out of any corner like that pretty naturally.
So you said that you were ahead right now.
Yes.
How far in advance do you start working on each episode? And do you have anyone who helps you with like the minute details of the artwork?
I do. I have a friend, Natasha Tara Petrovic. She does the flat coloring for me, so I still do the shading and special effects, but when I'm done with the inking, I send it over to her and she does all the base flat colors. And she actually just had a comic published through Image called Ophiuchus, so anyone into comics listening, I don't know if any local comic shops have it or not, but it's through Image, so maybe.
I don't think any one of our listeners reads comics.
Oh, no.
Just a theory.
That's fair.
Would you ever consider starting another series concurrent with the Sword Interval?
Do you mean like just doing 2 comics at once? Or Okay. Yeah, I've considered doing some other stuff. I don't really feel like I have the time right now, but I have a lot of ideas for things I'd like to do one day.
Could you give us 1 or 2 of the ideas that you'd like to do?
Absolutely. I'm working on a horror story that's about artificial intelligence and cults, and that actually takes place in... It's not going to be called Ashland, but it's basically Ashland in the Rogue Valley. So that's what I'd like to do. I have another one I'm working on with my wife that's very over-the-top, Dragon Ball Z, JoJo sort of... Yeah, about vampires, so that'll be fun.
If you ever need a opinion before it goes to market, I think I know a guy who could help.
Bigger poses, more Kamehamehas.
Always bigger poses. So Webtoon, where you publish Sword Interval, is a great platform for up-and-coming artists. Was that your first choice, or did you shop it around?
No, they came to me to do Sword Interval. They have kind of 2 platforms. They have Discover and what's Featured. I'm Featured, that's what it's called. And Featured means anyone can publish on Discover, and it's a great place to publish and get some readers and some traction going. Featured is exclusively on Webtoon, and you get a living wage for it, but they, we share some rights.
Yeah.
So they actually came to me because of some of my previous work, and we talked about a new series to make just through them, and that became The Sword Interval.
Awesome. And you're also on Kickstarter to do some physical editions. I have one right here. They're really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Where could people pick those up if they wanted to?
The first volume is on my store, which, oh dear, bfcomics.bigcartel.com. The second volume just got successfully kickstarted and will hopefully be off to the printer soon, so late this year, early next year, the second volume should be up as well.
Awesome. Looking forward to picking that one up as well.
Oh yeah, for those that prefer dead tree format, absolutely.
I, up until very recently, was super against reading like manga and comics online.
Sure, absolutely.
But the Dragon Ball Super manga is notoriously slow for getting physical volumes out, and I wanted to read it because it's now ahead of where the anime stopped, and I was like, I need to know this story. So I broke down and got a Shonen Jump subscription, and now I'm like, why did I ever hate this before? Like, the screens are big enough now that it's not like you're hurting to read it. So definitely, webcomics are awesome, and I'm fully on board with them
for sure.
now. So there are literally hundreds of series on Webtoons.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any like ones that you read or other favorites that are on there?
On a Webtoon, one that I like quite a lot is called Apocalyptic Horseplay. It's about the four horsemen are trying to not give in to their evil nature, and they're just trying to run a newspaper that only publishes good news. And then a journalist kind of gets involved with that, and it all spirals out of control into a whole bunch of stuff with Satan and devils and the Catholic Church.
Somehow a story about the Four Horsemen not leading into something terrible happening would be weird to read, I think.
I'd be impressed if someone could pull that off. Just the Four Horsemen run a cafe and nothing ever happens.
I mean, it'd be a fun one just to see, is this the episode where something's going to go to hell?
It never does. Literally go to hell.
All right, so we're going to move on to some more fun, absurd, outlandish potpourri questions.
Okay, absolutely.
You don't have to answer, but if you don't, we're going to assume your answer already.
Okay.
So, who's your childhood celebrity crush?
Celebrity crush. I honestly don't know. I know my first crush was Kerrigan from StarCraft, the Zerg Queen.
Counts.
Okay.
StarCraft, pretty celebrity-ish.
Yeah, okay.
If you were a Microsoft Office program, what program would you be and why?
What program works really well but also crashes the most? Something like that. Like
Word?
I guess I'd just be Word.
Yeah, if you haven't saved your document, your computer crashes and it's gone.
It's just gone.
Do you have a favorite kind of cheese?
Pepper Jack.
Pepper Jack? Okay, sounds good. I'm a cheddar boy.
Cheddar's
basic.
good. Cheddar's good.
Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure.
Could be food, hobby, anything.
Is it a guilty pleasure to just slack off and play a video game? I think that might be one.
I mean, if you have a full-time job and you're slacking off a little bit, that's a guilty pleasure.
It kind of is. I'll feel a little bad. I'm like, I can't believe I spent half an hour on myself today instead of working more.
Well, it sounds like you are like me, where you kind of make your own schedule. You have deadlines, so it's not really slacking off. You're just allotting your time differently.
Yeah, it's interesting working on your own schedule. Like, it can be really freeing, but it can also be without other people to kind of keep you on track and kind of like, oh no, where did the last 3 days go?
Yeah. I base my days off how many more days until Saturday, because Saturday is my favorite day of the week. I get to do my radio shows.
Oh, yeah.
Every day is leading to Saturday. So if I'm like, it's Monday, I'm like, all right, it's 5 more days till Saturday. I can get this much work done.
Yeah, it's important to have something consistent.
I really
like
don't
that.
start getting on the grind until like Thursday, where I'm like, all right, time to work on the show. And then I base everything off that now, so.
I realize I'm just nodding along, and this is a visual or audio medium. Yes, I relate. I think I probably don't usually get to work on Tuesday's episode really until Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, people always have been telling me that we should do like a webcam. I'm like, but I'm not that interesting to look at. Like, if I had like a famous Will Wheaton type person here, maybe I would do a webcam. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Ben did promise me if he shoulder checks Will again, he'll make mention that I'm trying to get him on my show. So hold him to that, please. So what would we catch you watching on a Saturday night on TV?
Saturday night on TV. I've been recently getting through Black Spot on Netflix. It's a pretty good kind of supernatural crime thriller. I don't watch that much TV anymore. I usually just find a series and binge through it, then move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's the great thing about Netflix and the terrible thing. They drop 10 episodes of Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
And then you watch it in one weekend, and then you have to wait over a year for the next series.
Right. So when someone's like, what do you watch? Like, I don't know. What's on right now? I just
gotta
finished Black
rewatch
Spot.
The Office, I guess.
Sure. I'm gonna watch Full Metal Alchemist again.
Yeah. So you've been tasked with getting rid of one of the 50 states. What state do you get rid of?
Jeez. I don't know, man. Let's just make it all one state.
All one state?
One big state.
What would you call the state?
Storegan.
Storegan? Okay. So who wins in a fight? Bruce Wayne or Tony Stark?
Oh, God. I'm gonna say Bruce Wayne because Tony Stark's dead.
Spoilers, man.
Oh, dang
I mean,
it.
if you haven't seen Endgame, I'm sorry. It's been a long enough time now that you should see it. But all right, we'll flip it up. Batman or Iron Man, because Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark are just people.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked Justice League as a kid, and I liked that version of Batman who really had a plan to take down anyone, so I feel like that version of Batman can take on most versions of Tony Stark.
I mean, billionaire versus billionaire. It's just who wants to write the bigger check to have their friend beat the other one up.
Aw, yeah, that's true. Who has friends they can actually bribe with money to beat the other one up?
Yeah. So, we have one more question, then we're going to hop into our interview with Carlos Alazraqui, and then we'll come back with Ben. But this is the toughest one, and if your answer is wrong, I'm going to ask you to leave the studio.
Oh, okay.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
No.
Okay, good. You can stay.
Okay.
So I just want to thank Ben. He'll be with us until 4 o'clock, but we are going to do our interview with Carlos Alazraqui really quick. Really exciting stuff. Carlos is the voice of Rocko from Rocko's Modern Life. Oops. Don't. If you heard that, I apologize, but we will be back with Carlos. Wow, messing myself up now. We'll be back with Ben after our interview with Carlos. Rocko's Modern Life, Reno 911, Fairly Odd Parents, and etc. Here we go.
Rocko's Modern Life.
Hi, my name is Kevin. This is ComiCulture Radio on KSKQ. We are pleased to be speaking with Mr. Carlos Alazraqui today. Some of Carlos's past roles include Winslow from Cat Dog, Mr. Crocker, Juanissimo Magnifico, and Engelberg from The Fairly Odd Parents, Mr. Weed from Family Guy, Spyro from the original Spyro the Dragon, the Taco Bell Chihuahua, and most notably Rocko from Rocko's Modern Life. Carlos has also played Deputy James Garcia in the live-action comedy series Reno 911. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you. We got a lot of activity in the background. We've had play dates. It's the day before school, and it's all happening today.
Yeah, I absolutely understand. Today's actually my not busy day, so glad to get this out of the way. And I'm sure you do hear this a lot, but I just wanted to get this right out of the bat that you were one of the voices from my childhood. Spyro was my very first video game, and it's one of my favorites. And Rocko was the first series I ever remember really loving and getting into. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I've been fortunate to go to a lot of cons all over the country, and kind of hear the same thing that you're the voice of my childhood, and now my dogs are barking because that's the house that I live in. But yeah, it's kind of a neat phenomenon to have.
So when I was preparing for this interview, I watched an interview of yours on YouTube. You said that Rocko was your first voice role. Was it crazy that first one kind of skyrocketed the way that it did? Yeah, it was weird. It was the 90s. We were following Chris Paluzzi and Ren and Stimpy, and then there was Angry Beavers and Hey Arnold, and so it was just nobody knew it was going to be such a significant time for animation in those early 90s. But yeah, we knew it was good when we were recording. We knew the material was good, and we knew it had pretty wonderful with all the acting and the writing. So I was glad when it took off, but not
terribly surprised, but I didn't know that the whole phenomenon of 90s cartoons would be so important. So,
yeah, this whole, for the episode that we're doing here for is all about 90s cartoons and how they're objectively better. I feel like, at least in my opinion, that the comedy has gone down a little bit, and the 90s ones are just, maybe I'm just old and jaded that way, but the newer ones don't seem to be as funny as they used to be.
yeah, we were allowed to be a little bit more adult, a little bit more sublime, subversive, a lot more innuendo, you know, sort of on the nose now. I mean, there's some good cartoons out there for sure, but that period was more storytelling, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you realize that you were able to do all these voices? You have so many of them. Did they all just come naturally, or did you have to, like, create them as you went along?
I think you create them as you go along. I think I had a good base. I've said it a couple of times in interviews that my parents are from Argentina. My dad was British educated, you know, no accent. My mom still had her thick Spanish accent. And, you know, and then my best parents were from Glasgow, Scotland. So I had this unique ability or unique situation where I'm growing up hearing Carlitos no me digas and Carlos, what are you and Kevin up to today? And so I was just fascinated by dialects and characters, and so I started to tune in, and then I started to watch television like everybody else, but started imitating people, and so it was pretty early on. I knew that I had at least a good foundation for hearing voices, and then watching British television growing up, the Toulanis and Monty Python and Ripping Yarns. So to go from British to Australian, you know, wasn't that hard, but yeah, so I was really ready to go, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So you got your start doing stand-up comedy. Are you still actively doing shows, or is that kind of something that's on the back now?
It's on the back burner. I mean, I do shows every once in a while. And at Flappers, we have stand-up shows featuring voiceover actors, and so that's a nice combination for me to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I'm doing one on August 12th, for example, in Burbank, California, at Flappers. And I'll get out there once in a while. I may try to do a special at some point, like a lot of other people are doing, just to get back on track. And, you know, it helps to sort of be prominent and get yourself out there and try to have an on-camera presence. So, you know, if you have an on-camera presence, sometimes the voiceover job comes to you a little bit more easily. So,
yeah, well, if you ever decide to get back into it full swing, we definitely need live comedy. We're in Southern Oregon, and we don't get a whole lot of live comedy, so you should come up here and do a set for us. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. You're in Ashland?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to do a comedy tour all through there. Ashland, Silverton, Roseburg, Salem, Bend. I used to do this whole comedy run back in the 90s, right around the time I was doing Rocko. So if only I could go back in time with Rocko, I could do that stand-up tour again.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So if you hadn't gotten into show business, what do you think your career path would have been? Did you want to be a teacher, writer?
You know, right out of college, I was in recreation administration, and they were setting up a ropes course for corporate employees to go through. You know, you had trust falls, zip lines, and high wire walks, and I was always a daredevil, and I was going to be the guy that was going to be the tour guy because I was funny. I could handle myself in public situations, and I thought that would be a perfect job for me. I would take all these corporate employees through these courses, and I could probably still be doing that today. You know, that would have been something I would have done, or club management, managing a racquetball club or tennis club, something along those lines. But, yeah, I think it would have ended up there.
Okay, awesome.
It would have been all right, but I got into stand-up comedy in mime in college, and then Rocko's Modern Life came out of me doing stand-up comedy in San Francisco. So I guess it was destiny, you know. I really didn't plan this. I didn't do drama or anything. I played sports.
Yeah, it seems all the greats didn't plan to be the greatest. They just kind of went into that, and it happened to them. So speaking of Rocko, how did it feel coming back to him after all these years? Did his voice come back naturally to you, like his personality, or did you have to relearn it?
Yeah, you know, I think because of the cons and going to the cons and doing welcome for people. But, you know, at the first record, Joe had to, you know, sort of give us all a voice sample of what we did in the 90s, because we were both a little bit more weathered, you know. The old vocal was way up here, and I really had to, you know, I was probably more naturally right here, so I had to kind of struggle to get up there. Hey, you know, Spunky! Those kinds of things are a little bit harder to do.
I appreciate how Spunky still has a thing for the mops. That was really funny to me.
Yeah. ordered a bunch of mops from Amazon, I guess.
So on that same note, how does it feel for Shadow Queen to finally see the light of day? I feel like it was a really rocky road from the time that I remember hearing it announced at Comic-Con to being released this Friday on Netflix.
Yeah, we're really happy that it finally did get released, but, for a while they were like, what's going to happen? It's the same with Invader Zim. We weren't sure that it was ever going to come out, Like, they don't want to do it. There's no deal there. But, obviously Netflix is an awesome platform because you can stream it anytime you want. I mean, people have DVRs, but just as you can watch it over and over again. And if people missed it and didn't DVR it, they can watch it anytime. My girls and I watched it that Friday morning, actually. And we just got up and gave it a watch, and they really liked it. They've seen a couple of Rocko things. But so I think they think Daddy's cool now.
So do you know if there's plans for Rocko, the entire series to go on Netflix, or is it just going to be special for now?
As far as I know, it's just a special. Obviously,
okay.
A small dream come true would be just that. Like, hey, we really love it. Let's do a series. You always hope for that. And if it's just a special, then it kind of lives on there for a while. And it introduces Rocko to a whole new fan base. And it's good for me when I go out and do the cons because, people come up and say, I never saw it before and I liked your special. And so there's always that. But yeah, going to series would be the best outcome for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So the film picks up 20 years after Rocko, Silver, and Heifer have been stuck in space due to Heifer's ineptitude. And they only had one VHS to watch over and over again. If you were in that same situation, what VHS would you have up there with you?
Ooh, gosh, you're talking VHS, huh?
Yeah, they had a VHS, so you don't have a VHS, only fair.
Because so that excludes a lot of modern stuff. So, like, if I would be a movie, and it would be Blade Runner.
Okay, mine's Rocky Horror.
I would watch it as I've watched it over and over again anyway. So it would be Blade Runner.
Okay, awesome. So obviously Rocko is shell shocked coming into the late 2010s.
Yes.
On that same note, if you were coming back from space after 20 years, what would you be most surprised by coming into the 21st century?
Oh man, all the cell phones. The fact that you can walk around with these little, literally Dick Tracy. You can walk around and talk into your watch and see a video.
Yeah. Gotta get that new iPhone 10.
Yeah. Oh, big whoop. I got the iPhone 15.
Oh man, I'm way far behind. I've lived changes in real time, and I'm still shocked by some of them. Like 3D printers are so crazy to me. I never thought this would be a thing.
I know. You can build entire houses out of them. But yeah, there's so much. But I just think definitely the fact that people could talk into watches and have these little things. I mean, we're used to it now because it happened gradually. But if you just saw that, like, you can talk through your car to somebody, or even email or FaceTime, like all the way across the world. What does it cost you?
We're
not really much.
Connected now than ever before, and it's kind of scary. I don't want to be reached at 3 o'clock in the morning, but now someone can.
Yeah.
There's a major change for one of the characters in the special, and was that something that came about naturally during the writing process? It was really nice to see an issue like that being addressed so openly, and I feel like the Rocko and this gang were automatically just like, oh, okay, that's awesome, moving on.
Well, yeah, they discover the big head son, Rachel, has come back in the 21st century, and they just ask Rachel to they meet her, and she says, I'm Rachel, and to them it's like, oh, no big deal. All right, can you get the fatheads back on the air? And that's kind of a cool moment when they see her, and I think that's cool.
Do you think that would be part of the reason why Nickelodeon didn't want to air it on TV, or does that not really have anything to do with it, do you think?
I couldn't venture to say. That's a Nickelodeon thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know you, but after I watched the special, every single time I heard the line culturally ambiguous pillows, I had the urge to jump in the Bed Bath & Beyond. Was that your plan from the whole start? To be able to buy pillows?
Yes.
Okay.
Culturally ambiguous pillows.
Yeah. So this is probably going to be a tough question to ask. Do you have a personal favorite episode of Rocko?
They're all hard to remember, but I always say you can't squeeze tear from a Christmas cheese log. It's just so sweet. And, the little elf needs help and he needs friends, and he's sort of an outcast. And it's just about that true spirit of Christmas. And Rocko sort of embodies that. Rocko just embraces everything. He might be a little afraid of it at first, but in the end, he's like, yeah, it's not so bad. We can get through this.
Yeah.
So
I think mine would be Phlegm Rock. I remember seeing it, and then when they finally get there, it's this little dinky little thing, and I thought it was so brilliant that after all this, it's like, okay, we're just going to bulldoze over this little trinket national monument now.
Yeah, there's so many good, but a line that when Rocko finds his favorite childhood toy, I love you, Mr. Onion Head. Like, who has a toy named Mr. Onion Head? It's just ridiculous,
So, is there another character which you could revisit? I think a Cat Dog reboot would do really well. I think Winslow could have his own
Cat
spin-off
Dog.
show.
I think with Laszlo. I mean, Laszlo was another Joe Murray show. Laszlo was really sweet.
And Jeff Bennett playing Raj. But yeah, Winslow is awesome.
Yeah. Winslow could have Chase Goes Coast to Coast. I think it would crush it.
Hey, a cat dog.
Right, so, is there any role you regret passing on?
Is there any role that excuse me?
That you regret passing on, if there are any of those?
No, I don't know that I passed on any role per se. Obviously all voice acting, like when they wanted to recast the Simpsons and stuff like that, during the strike, it's like, no. Most of us passed because just out of respect, it's like, no, let's let those actors negotiate for what they're worth. But no, and that act, none of us regretted, So.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Just got to be out of respect for the Simpsons people, especially.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I don't think I ever passed on anything I had an opportunity for. I'm still going for it.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, you were Deputy James Garcia on Reno 911. Live action is obviously a whole different beast compared to an animated show. If the project came along, would you consider doing a live action series again?
Oh, absolutely. You always talk to that. I'm doing a media series right now, and it's really cool. And I'm getting to act with a couple of really fine actors. And I hope it comes out. They're doing it as a pilot presentation. You hope it gets made. The content is great. The cast is great. It's a fun kind of devious character that I play, but it's also nice. So.
Yeah, so I hope it does get made because I'd love to see it.
If Reno, there had been rumors that, Quibi, hopefully Quibi would want to do some Reno episodes, but it really is hard with all the actors' relative schedules, and that would be something fun to do, revisit Reno or any other live action show that has really good writing, But hopefully, that's what stand-up is for. Hopefully I get an opportunity to do stuff like that. So. Yeah.
I saw there was plans for a sequel to Reno 911 Miami, but are those kind of shelved for now? Did that end up not panning out?
No, nothing has panned out so far. There's always, the cast is willing and ready and able and wanting to do it. Again, it just comes down to opportunity and cast availability. So I didn't know about a sequel to the movie, but certainly a little more episodes and short and things like that. So.
And so Billy West, another veteran voice actor, has been pretty outspoken about celebrities, quote unquote, being chosen over career voice actors for roles. I just want to get your opinion on that. Part of me understands why you'd want to insert Brad Pitt, A-list actor here. I've never understood why those people get chosen over career voice actors who hone these skills over years at a time.
It's relative to the project. You look at Billy Crystal and you look at John Goodman, celebrities that Tim Allen and Tom Hanks, who just, you can't imagine anybody else as Woody or, Buzz Lightyear or Mike Wazowski or Sully, even though for many years I got to imitate or do the voice of Mike Wazowski. So it's relative to the thing. I've always said there's a difference between voice acting and acting with your voice. So celebrities act with their voice. But to some extent, you could say that John Goodman and Billy Crystal, deviated from that. The regular Billy Crystal is right-handed. Mike Wazowski's higher up, and he made a character. He's full of energy. And so, there's an example of a celebrity who puts something on it. Then you look at like a Ray Romano. I'm going to play this character in this movie. I'm always going to be Ray Romano. Or Chris Rock is always going to be Chris Rock. And that's fine. And I can see the validity to it if you want a Chris Rock-like character or you want a Ray Romano-like character, you hire Ray Romano. Obviously, we're more skilled at altering our voice, and it would be sweet, it would be lovely to be able to get the notoriety and the money that celebrities get, and we voice act, and they act with their voice. So sometimes it's, I didn't think Brad Pitt or Matt Damon were as strong in Happy Feet 2, for example. They were fine, but obviously Robin Williams, the celebrity, is the star of that show, and Elijah Wood was great. He brings his sweetness to the character of Mumble. But yeah, you get jealous because sometimes you create a character and then they replace you with that celebrity, and you're like, hey, wait a second, I created that character, or I did that voice first. It's like any other business, It's going to happen in whatever endeavor you do, and you just roll with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but before we go, I just have a couple more. I did want to touch on Rocko one more time. Growing up, there were so many jokes that went over my head in that show, and then going back to it as a young adult, I was like, wow, how did I miss that? There was one that immediately comes to my work. Rocko gets a job as a phone operator. Is it fun to sneak those in there for the adults watching it with their kids who are none the wiser?
Yeah. Oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, be naughty, be courteous, be nice, Yeah, that was one of the major ones. As that guy says, you don't want this room all night. You like to check in for the night? You want it for a whole night?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many.
There's one where Rocko answers the door, and he's holding a ping pong paddle, and there's a monkey on a turnstile saying, like, we were just playing a game. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But, yeah, those kinds of things. And even Choky Chicken, they said, this will never get past the censors, so let's just do it and see what happens. And they let it get past the censors, so.
Was there ever a joke that didn't make it past the censors?
I'm sure there were several. I can't think of any right now. But yeah, certainly there was.
Right, and so these are the two toughest questions out of the whole interview, and I hope you're ready for them. Are you a Marvel or DC guy?
If I had to be, that's tough because I love Deadpool, and I love Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse more than any other Marvel movie that I've enjoyed this year. So just based on that, Spider-Man, that puts me in the DC world, right? Or is that, yeah, that's
Marvel.
That is Marvel. So yeah. Marvel. That
okay.
movie was amazing.
And then the first question, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely. It does. I'm sorry to say.
Hey, that's okay. I saved that one for last because you had the wrong answer. I was going to end the interview right there. But the answer, so thank you.
Oh, good.
Any final words for us that you want to share about Rocko, about Reno 911, about anything?
Just letting people know that I'm trying to do more cons. I've got Detroit, Michigan coming up this week. I don't know where we're airing. And then I'm glad that Rocko has new life again, and I hope new fans will like it. And Reno fans, we're doing all we can to bring Reno back to the air in some fashion. I'm keeping my body in shape just in case I can fit into the old sheriff uniform. But no, just thanks for being fans of what we do, because I said this on Instagram. You never realize the impact you have on people. People spend so much time with you, it really means something to them. And based on that, I just appreciate that people like what I do, and I can understand it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, Carlos. I really appreciate it, and it's great talking with you.
Yes, and sorry about all the craziness, but that is my house the day before school with dogs and kids.
Great. That was our interview with Carlos Alazraqui. Really fun. I really enjoyed how he did all those voices, Rocko and Winslow from Cat Dog, and how he did the famous "Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby" from when Rocko was a legit phone sex operator.
That was great.
Went over my head as a kid, but definitely into it. We're back with Ben for the next 15 minutes or so for Dad Hats and Khaki Pants starts. That's right. If you didn't know, now you know. Saturday is Dadder Day with Kevin, 3 to 6, ComiCulture, and then Dad Hats and Khaki Pants, my music show where I play the best in pop punk and emo music for your ears to enjoy. So Ben and I are just going to ramble about nonsense, and if you get sick of us, don't tune out because you're going to miss Dad Hats, and you want to listen to that as well. So we were talking about Dungeons & Dragons and the idea of doing a radio campaign if that would work out. And you were mentioning another series that does that. Kind of tell us more about that.
Yeah, so there's a system called Apocalypse World that someone made. I wish I remembered the names of people so I could credit them properly, but someone made this much more straightforward system that was meant to play survivors after an apocalypse event, and the system was really straightforward and really focused on the narrative. So there's a whole bunch of other games that are based off it now, and they're called either Apocalypse Engine or Powered by the Apocalypse, and very narrative heavy, very little dice rolling and moving characters and tokens around on a grid, but still has, there's still gameplay elements, there's still strategy and luck and chance involved.
I just think it'd be really hard to translate to a live radio show. Like,
sure,
this is gonna be a podcast as well. Oh, if you didn't realize, ComiCulture is gonna be a podcast. Every Saturday episode will come out the next Wednesday on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, wherever you digest your podcast from. And so really looking forward to that. And thank you to my producer, Michael Halstead, for getting that set up for me, because I could not do this without you, my friend, so thank you. What else were we going to talk about? The MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Do you think there are too many movies in that franchise?
Yes. Next question. No, yeah, we were talking about how it kind of feels like, I don't know, there's so much, and it's like a feeling of like fatigue of having to keep up with it if you want to see all the tie-in movies, the next Avenger movie and stuff like that, and I don't know.
I mean, we're at like 3 a year now.
Yeah.
And within 4 months, we had Captain Marvel, Avengers, and Spider-Man.
It's a lot.
And I'm like, why can't we make these every 3 months?
And now Spider-Man doesn't count.
I know. Hopefully Sony and Marvel can work out a deal, because Tom Holland was the best Spider-Man, in my opinion, as far as him being an actual teenager in high school. He's actually 20 when Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were both 30 when they started playing this 17-year-old kid. But Tom Holland was an actual kid when he started, so definitely hope he is able to stick around.
Yeah. Did you see the thing going around about how apparently the Peter B. Parker from Spider-Verse is from the same universe as Tom Holland? So that's supposed to be the same guy, just all washed up 30 years later.
Oh, no, I didn't see that. Into the Spider-Verse was great.
I
loved it so much. There were so many art styles on the screen at one time with the Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Pig. It was just so cool how the animators did all 7 different styles at one time. And the effects were amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend you watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Beautiful movie.
Not connected to to the MCU as a whole, as far as we know.
Apart from maybe Peter B. Parker is possibly the same. Now that he's not part of the MCU, he just gets washed up and goes on a Spider-Verse.
Oh, poor guy.
I know, that poor guy.
There is the multiverse in the MCU now, so possibly...
Oh, God.
I think the new Doctor Strange movie is all about the multiverse. So.
Oh, yeah, okay. That one actually sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, Doctor Strange is one of those ones where, he was super fringe before, but now he's, way popular.
Yeah.
Which, this is ComiCulture from the former fringe, because all this stuff is popular, and you all made fun of us as kids for liking it. But now we can all enjoy it together, and I don't hold grudges for the ones who made fun of me for liking Dragon Ball, because now they like Dragon Ball. Let's watch it together, man.
Yeah.
Let's catch up on 20 years of awesomeness together.
Yeah, more people being into all these hobbies is great, and just that meaning that future generations hopefully won't feel awkward or face any sort of bullying or teasing for it is wonderful. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. We were also talking about Star Wars and how they keep pumping those things out, and how the entire extended universe got retconned when Disney bought Star Wars, and I had to relearn all this stuff, and why would they do that to me just to make a little bit more money? But
I just want every franchise to die, just all of them.
I don't want to go attacking Disney, because they'll come after me with their lawyers, but I love you, Disney.
No, I mean, I do like the Star Wars movies individually. I like most of the Marvel movies individually. It's just, it's hard to be excited for them anymore, I guess is what I want to say. Just, even if it ends up good, just, no, another one, that's fine.
And then all these new TV series that are coming out. Like, there's so many of them that, like you said, you have to pretty much watch them all to know what's going on for, like, the next Avengers movie or whatever they end up doing if it's not Avengers anymore. If it's, I don't know if my listeners are super into comics, but the Illuminati would be a really cool movie to make. Like, Secret Avengers, just...
Sure.
I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did that at one point, the Secret Avengers, or maybe it was the Secret Warriors. I don't know. There's so many secret organizations out there.
I stopped watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., just kind of fell out of that one a few seasons in, so I can't remember.
Yeah, I stopped watching it like season 4, and I tried going back a couple times, but I'm like, it got too wonky, even for like a comic book series.
Yeah, kind of had that issue that a lot of series will have, where you almost soap opera, where you just have too much interpersonal stuff going on, or too many plots that kind of get dropped.
Yeah, I just want a good superhero show that's serialized, so I don't have, if I miss a week, I don't have to go back and rewatch the other episode.
Sure.
So what else do you want to talk about? This is super fun, super potpourri style right now. We were talking about series that you would watch, and you were talking about, what was it, Black Spot?
Oh, yeah. Black Spot on Netflix was pretty cool. My wife and I went through the first 2 seasons of that recently. It's like a isolated French village in the mountains, dealing with a bunch of kind of a procedural crime show with these really vague, never particularly over the top until some stuff in season 2, supernatural elements. Just, people with maybe a kind of a sixth sense, or some weird pagan wood god stuff is going on, but nothing that couldn't really be explained as...
That sounds like Scooby-Doo.
You're right. It's exactly the same. I actually really want to do the Gravity Falls intro, but with Black Spot characters.
That'd be really awesome. For those of you who don't know, Gravity Falls supposedly takes place in our very own Oregon.
It does, yeah.
Somewhere outside Bend, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what town it's supposed to be.
I've seen a map. It's not like a real map. It's just like for the show, and it's supposed to be right outside Bend. So, another show that takes place in Oregon is Angry Beavers.
Oh, yeah!
I am interviewing Richard Stephen Horvitz tomorrow on for next week's show.
That's so cool.
And he was the voice of Daggett from Angry Beavers, and he was also the voice of Zim from Invader Zim. So that's really exciting. Ben was just telling me he watched the new Zim special. I haven't seen it yet. Was it good compared to the original series?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I don't know if now, as a 30-year-old with no energy, I could go back and watch all of the original series, but the new one felt a little bit toned down, but in a way that I really liked, and it still felt like Zim. And a little more heartfelt. I feel like the characters felt a little more like people.
Yeah, definitely. And then he was also the voice of Alpha 5 from Power Rangers.
Oh.
So, looking forward to that. If you have any questions for him that you'd like me to ask, go ahead and get us on our social media at ComiCulture Radio. And I'll be sure to ask him, and if he doesn't answer, it's because you asked a stupid question.
Oh, no. Maybe.
Probably. I don't know. I'm going to ask some stupid questions myself, but that's just because I can. It's my show. If he hangs up on me, that's okay. So I just want to thank Ben once again. We have him for about, I don't know, another 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes before we get ready for Dad Hats. Anything else you want to tell us about the Sword Interval, or where people can find you? You said you and your wife are working on another series.
That's right. Well, you can find Sword Interval at swordinterval.com. And then my wife and I are working on a short horror anthology called WTF, Weird, Terrifying, Freaky. And it's kind of in the vein of the old Crypt Creeper or like eerie comics, kind of like corny intentionally. And that's going to be on Kickstarter. It launches Friday the 13th in September, which is when we're at Rose City Comic Con. And you'll be able to find that one at softroar.com, which currently goes to nowhere, but will be redirected to that Kickstarter when it launches.
I love that. I had a website that went nowhere for a long time, and then I was like, I'm going to make this go somewhere. Yeah. I don't think it goes anywhere anymore anyway, but those are always super fun.
Sure.
When you get an email that's like ben@softroar.com, but it just goes to your Gmail because Softroar doesn't actually exist. Yeah. It's just you bought the domain for the email usage. Ooh, this has been a really fun episode. I've had really fun getting to know you and talking about nerd stuff, because this is ComiCulture. We are no longer on the fringe. No. We are part of society, and we are here to stay. Hopefully not for how am I supposed to put this? Hopefully you don't get sick of us, like some of us are sick of the MCU and Star Wars, but we're here to stay for a little bit, and hopefully we have some fun doing it.
Can't believe we said on the air, I'm sick of Star Wars now. No, it's, listen, I like the individual movies, I just can't really get excited when I hear about new MCU and Star Wars movies anymore.
I can't say I'd ever stop watching Star Wars, but I could definitely say you should stop making movies.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So I could enjoy the movies that you have put out. Yeah. You know what movies stopped at a really good spot?
What's that?
Was Harry Potter. But I say that begrudgingly. I meant the original Harry Potter series, 1 through 8, because they split book 7 up into 2 movies. But they didn't continue it on. I mean, they did that prequel, Fantastic Beasts, which is a different story. But Harry Potter did what it needed to do. It didn't extend past what it had to, and it just ended, and we move on.
I'm trying to think of any other series with a lot of movies that did that, and I am coming up empty here. I'm sure there is one, but like anything else where they just were like, we're done, we did it. The series over.
Everything just eventually gets rebooted, and I hope they don't reboot Harry Potter, because they did it right the first time. We were talking about Transformers and how Transformers just redoes their continuity every couple of years. We're just like,
just constantly.
This is not the history we told you about. It's totally different.
So there's so many continuities there that you can just kind of rely on it to be like, well, I like this one, so this is the one I'm going to pay attention to.
Yeah.
In a weird way, it works just because it's
the same thing with comic books. There's so many different continuities. We're like, are you into Spider-Man 99 or the new 20 for DC? And
sure.
Do you follow all the storylines? How do you get not confused? Speaking of storylines, X-Men. What timeline are we in with the X-Men?
I don't
There's so many.
I have no idea. I actually haven't seen any of the recent X-Men movies. I think I saw First Class. Was that one of them?
Yeah.
Was that one?
That was like when Magneto and Professor X were not teenagers, but young adults.
Is that when they stopped the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Yes.
Okay, that's the last one I saw.
There's been like 3 or 4 since then, and I think they've said now that Disney owns Fox that those are all completely erased.
Oh my god.
So there you go again, Disney erasing
Blame God.
So if the X-Men show up in the MCU, that'll be really interesting to see with Wolverine. But now that Tony Stark is gone, you're not going to see Wolverine and Tony Stark butt heads, and that's really unfortunate.
Oh. Huh.
Who could he butt heads against? Black Panther.
Yeah.
His vibranium claws with his adamantium claws. Which one would win? Who knows? That'd be a fun fight to see, Wolverine versus Black Panther.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Well, I think we're going to start wrapping things up. We're not going to hit the full hour, but that's okay. I want to thank Ben once again. Find Sword Interval at swordinterval.com. Really awesome. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, this is fun.